Now, U.S. President Barack Obama is in India. He's been there for 3 days. It's all part of his 10-day trip to Asia. Now, we're not going to get into the specifics of how much his hotel bill is, how much his trip may or may not cost, but rather the importance of the U.S.-India relationship and what it means for you. Barack Obama praised India's ability to develop a rising middle class today. Delhi, listen.
Instead of resisting the global economy, you became one of its engines, reforming the licensing Raj and unleashing an economic marvel that has lifted tens of millions of people from poverty and created one of the world's largest middle classes.
And RT correspondent Priya Sridhar joins me now for more. So, Priya, what was President Barack Obama trying to accomplish throughout this trip?
Well, I think it's important to take a look at the timing of his trip. Obviously, it came after the disastrous midterm elections for Democrats here in the United States. And so this is one of his longest...
He probably wanted to get away from D.C., right?
Yeah, a lot of people said, hey, he wanted to get as far away as he could, so why not go to India, which is halfway across the world. But, you know, he wanted to make sure that the American people understood that while he's away from the United States for the longest time he's ever been since he, took office, that he was thinking about Americans and thinking about job creation here in the United States. So one of the biggest accomplishments, or the biggest announcements, I guess you could say, that he made in Mumbai on Saturday was a $10 billion deal with India. So the United States is actually going to build 10 C-17 fighter jets for the Indian Armed Forces, which is going to create around 20,000 jobs here in the United States. He also announced deals. There was 20 such deals, some with General Electric, some with Harley Davidson, and in total it's going to create about 55,000 jobs here in the United States. So President Obama really wanted to move away from the fact that lots of Americans, when they think of India, think about India stealing jobs from the United States. You think about all those outsourcing centers. You remember I went to India back in July, and one of my favorite places that I got to visit was Bangalore, which is considered India's Silicon Valley. And President Obama made a point not to go to Bangalore, which actually made a lot of Indians very upset, because they said, hey, you know, Americans have it all wrong. India is not stealing jobs from the United States. And Prime Minister Manmohan Singh also pointed that out in his joint press conference with President Obama on Monday in New Delhi. He said, we're not in the business of stealing jobs. Many of these companies are actually doing these huge deals with the United States, and the United States should be happy about it. Now, another major announcement that President Obama made on his trip to India was the fact that he was going to take India off an entity list, which actually prevented India from receiving information and exports, high technology exports. India has great partnerships with Russia and France, and they had been receiving lots of this high technology exports from those two countries, and the United States always kind of strayed away from that. But this time around, they decided to change their minds. It was a big deal in India, so let's take a listen to what President Obama had to say about that.
We need to forge partnerships in high-tech sectors like defense and civil space. So we've removed Indian organizations from our so-called entity list, and we will work to remove and reform our controls on exports. Both of these steps will ensure that Indian companies seeking high-tech trade and technologies from America are treated the same as our very closest allies and partners.
So this is obviously a sign that the United States is starting to trust India more, and hopefully India, in response, will do some of the things that President Obama is looking for.
So he definitely addressed the sort of future of the economic relationship, at least between the United States and India. But where does it stand right now?
Basically, the United States spends about $12 billion in exports to India, and India sends around $19 billion to America. And obviously, the United States wants to change that relationship a little bit. It's very interesting. A lot of major American companies have been prevented from opening their doors in India, like Walmart, like Starbucks. There's a rule in India that only allows...
Priya, how did you survive without a Starbucks in India?
It was really tough for me. You know me, Dina. You always see me with my Starbucks cup. So I'm really hoping that, President Obama gets his way and Starbucks gets into India. But India only allows foreign investors to own 51% of a single brand in retail. So that's prevented a lot of these American companies from going into India and competing with kind of the mom and pop businesses that have really helped India have a growing middle class. So let's see what President Obama had to say about that.
And together we can resist the protectionism that stifles growth and innovation. The United States remains and will continue to remain one of the most open economies in the world. And by opening markets and reducing barriers to foreign investment, India can realize its full economic potential as well.
So basically there, President Obama is talking about how the United States has such a wonderful open economy and kind of urging India to kind of get in on that, because as it stands right now, Walmart has made some deals with Indian companies, but they're not allowed to actually sell to Indian people. They're only allowed to sell to Indian hospitals and restaurants and other companies. So President Obama is hoping that if companies like Walmart and Starbucks get into India, it can help out the American people, and that's really what he wanted to emphasize while he was there.
That's a very interesting point. And very briefly, Priya, I have to mention this on a lighter topic. One of New Delhi's best-known restaurants promises to unveil its much-anticipated Obama platter. Any idea what is in this Obama platter?
Well, they said that they were going to have a lot of meat. I'm very excited to learn a little bit more about it, but I guess the last time when President Clinton went to India, they unveiled platters for Bill Clinton, Hillary Clinton, and Chelsea Clinton, so there was lots of jokes that they have to make a platter for President Obama as well, so it looks like that is going to happen.
That's
very
right.
important
what
step.
about Michelle? She's left out of the mix?
Yeah, well, maybe next time.
RT's Priya Sridhar bringing us that.